Welcome back to the Williams Real Estate Channel. I'm your host, Geordie Williams, and today we are discussing the January 2026 property market update for Australia. The overall market up 0.8% this month, pretty strong month. The combined regions outperformed the combined capitals with 1% gain for the month and 0.7. And 12 months to date, we'll see 9.4% gain 12 months to date for this whole Australian property market. The combined regions up 10.3% and the combined capitals up 9.2% for the past 12 months. The leading market for the month was regional South Australia up 2.1%, followed by Perth up 2%, followed by regional WA up 1.9%, and Brisbane at 1.6%, Darwin 1.5%, regional Tasmania 1.3%, Adelaide 1.2%, regional Queensland 1.1%, regional VIC New South Wales 0.7%, followed by Canberra 0.3%, Sydney 0.2%, Melbourne 0.1%. So stagnant markets, Melbourne, Sydney, Hobart, Canberra, regional Vic, New South Wales, and the booming markets, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Darwin, and their respective regions. Strongest 12 months to date is Darwin, 19.7%, followed by regional WA, 17.3%, Perth, 18.5%, regional WA, 17.3%, Brisbane, 15.7%. Pretty incredible growth past 12 months out of Perth, Brisbane, Darwin, regional WA, and even still, regional Queensland, 13%, and regional South Australia, 11.9%. Pretty strong across those second-tier metros and their respective regions, typical in the later stage of the 18-year land cycle. And then we saw the likes of Hobart, Adelaide, regional Vic, New South Wales, Tassie, Sydney, more or less 7 to 8% growth, with the softest market for the past 12 months being Melbourne, 5.4%, Canberra, 5.5%. So that's the 12 months. And where to from here? As you know, we use the 18-year land cycle as our framework to work out, firstly, where we are, being on that blue marker, coming into now equivalent point of time, early 2007 in the prior cycle. If you ask me how I know that, study it yourself, follow people who also talk to it, research, overlay it with multiple different factors, not just property data, but what the stock market's doing, gold, silver, Bitcoin. Came across it during my construction days, because 1 minute it was booming in high-rise apartment buildings from when I left school in Sydney, especially from 2011-12, big boom construction, which was the first half of the current cycle, 12 to 2019. That was in the prime of my construction days. We were building commercial projects, fit out, residential, high-rise buildings were going everywhere, Sydney, Melbourne. That was the first quarter of the current cycle, which we often see towards the tail end of the boom. A large supply comes on from developers as projects become feasible. They start throwing up high-rise buildings, building new house and land packages, which creates the oversupply scenario we see typically towards the tail end of the boom. That was Sydney, Melbourne, big boom, which ended 2018-19, oversupply, and they've been stagnant since. People then get priced out, heading out to regional Vic, New South Wales, ACT, Tassie. That's when we see those markets outperform, just like what happened from 15 to 21. And then come mid-cycle, we go through the mid-cycle slowdown. This time around it's called COVID. Stock markets historically take 30 to 40% correction. Then people decentralize, head out into Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide. That's when we see those markets outperform in the third quarter. But what I was saying was, in my construction days, people used to move around. couple of years we're building high-rise apartment buildings type of construction, then all of a sudden that work dries out and people start moving on infrastructure projects. So tunnels, metro lines. I did a big remediation job at Barangaroo. We're doing Lend-Lease high-rise apartment buildings. That slowed down, and then we started remediating around all the infrastructure jobs, like all the metro stations. Now everyone's flocking out to fly in, fly out. So it's the same people. They just keep moving around to different projects where the projects are. And now everyone's doing fly in, fly out, all the mining jobs, oil and gas, which is historically what we see towards the tail end of the 18-year land cycle, where we're now on the blue marker coming into the fourth and final quarter when we see the likes of Darwin, regional South Australia, WA, Queensland outperform, which are also pumped up by the mining sectors, which pumps Darwin, regional WA, Queensland, Brisbane. But unfortunately, the party never goes on forever. So the booming markets, you never want to buy into the booming markets. It's counterintuitive to what mainstream people are doing. They're all rushing in at 95% LVRs. Holy fuck. Here we go. The setup is here. Inflation's going to rise. Rates going to follow. I've, thank God, locked it all in. Studying the cycle. Study the cycle. You'll be prepared. And then it's amazing how you'll just see it all unfold slowly in front of you. They're all locked in, rates are locked in, which is good. Inflation's going to keep running. This time around, it's going to be a big one because they've got this net zero fantasy that they keep going down. So not building enough coal-fired power plants. There's massive demand. They've been importing huge records numbers of people into Australia. That's demand. That ultimately pushes up price of everything. The demand for electricity goes into everything. So if we need more electricity, and they've been building data centers, they suck a shitload of energy. So you can't increase demand by way of a transition into AI, EV cars. You need data centers. That's a massive demand. One EV per house is like 4 times as much electricity onto the grid. So, and then massive demand increase through migration and technology change, but at the same time, we're shutting off the energy supply. It's fucking crazy. So energy is going to go up, and energy goes into everything. Inflation is going to get away. Rates will go up. Most people are going to be ploughing into the stupid markets like Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Darwin, and their respective regions, regional WA, Queensland. And when the market turns, unfortunately, 90% of people get wiped. And we reset and we go again, baby. So this is the whole purpose of this, is to explain a bit about the method to the madness. Melbourne, number one pick on the list, is what we're getting into at this stage of the cycle. As it was very protected throughout. So before we get into that, this is a guide that we use. So we're coming now into 2007 and onwards. So from all these slides moving forward, let's have a look at what happened from 2007 and onwards. So Melbourne, Melbourne's becoming a little bit more mainstream. A lot more people are talking it up. The negative sentiment is starting to dissipate. I see Melbourne troughed out probably 24, and it's only up from here. As you can see, Melbourne had a solid run from 2007, 8 and onwards. Topped out 17, 18, has been more or less up and down. Every suburb slightly different. This is a suburb we're focusing on. Some suburbs don't perform well. As you can see, this is quite resilient. It hasn't been, so much stagnant, but it hasn't outperformed as such. So we look for the diamonds in the rough type suburbs. This is one of 5 factors I look at, is the 18-year land cycle long-term trends. We look at yield, price point relative to the intrinsic value in suburbs that are getting the infrastructure spend that will gentrify, that they're selling off public housing. Oh my God, they're selling off so much public housing in a couple of suburbs in Melbourne. They are the diamonds in the rough suburbs because they're rough and ready today. Government comes in, sells off public housing as they reinvest that capital into more urban sprawl. As they keep building out more urban development, they'll redeploy people who live in government housing. They need to fucking wind it back though. Half of them are taking a piss, generational bullshit. That's crap. It should be 10-year leases, and your lease is up, and you got to come in, and should give us evidence that you're applying for jobs, or you get them to be audited, because there's a lot of them that are milking the system, 20, 30 years, their whole life, and generational, where they just never leave. And there's, where the real people that need the help are the people on the streets in the city. We went to the city shopping the other couple of weeks back, and I mean, homeless people, man. I was handing out $50 notes to them, especially the ones with the animals. Alex loves animals. So anyway, government housing should be looked at, and they should do a minivan, pick them all up, government housing, build more, and government build more. I mean, I built blocks of government housing in my corporate career. Anyway, back to Melbourne. Melbourne's resilient. And I mean, people ask, why are we still buying now? Well, if we know that the next GFC is coming around, this one's going to be fucking GFC on steroids. It'll be like the 91 recession we had to have on steroids, because they're shutting off our coal-fired power plants and pushing up the price of energy. It's going to get filtered through the entire market. Businesses will be laying off people left, right, centre to shore up their balance sheets to try and get through unemployment. That's how unemployment goes up. Anyway, everyone's going to be flocking back to Melbourne, like what happened from 2007-8. Here we are again. 2005, 6, 7, 8 to 13, big mining boom, big paying jobs. Eventually, they all dry up. The mines slow down. The jobs dry up. People lose their jobs. Businesses start laying off people everywhere. Everyone flocks back to Sydney, Melbourne, where all the diversified economies, where all the jobs are. Hence, they went through historically, which is a guide for what's going to happen into the future. 2007 onwards, solid run. Number 2, Sydney. As you can see, again, Sydney outperformed from 2009, 10 to 17, topped out, and has ever since stagnant. So this is when I get excited. We've been buying in Sydney for 2 or 3 years, but we're coming into this growth cycle. So that's on the horizon. Happy days. 3rd, regional VIC. So no rush on regional VIC. This is the best of regional VIC, but lots of regional VIC looks like even Hobart, like a long way to stagnate out. A couple of years, so no rush, but we are plucking off the low-hanging fruit, I like to call it. There's always deals everywhere. So, I mean, I bought in regional New South Wales, in this market where it's not going anywhere for another 8 years, but I got the deal so good it doesn't matter. So I get my money out. Well, you can't get your money out in super, but it's a cash flow play. A good 9% yield. So I love getting into markets where, as a cash flow play, where there's a long time horizon before the next growth cycle, that's where you get the best price point. And if you're not reliant on getting immediate growth within the next 3 to 5 years, then it's okay. Because, I mean, I'm refinancing and selling out of Queensland. It's just like farming. After a while, you sow your seeds in the soft markets and you harvest your crop in the overheated markets. You don't need to sow your seeds and harvest the fucking next 6, 12 months. I mean, at the start you do, but after a while, once you get in the rhythm and the momentum, you want to get in best deals. Hobart has still got also a number of years to stagnate out. So there's no rush in Hobart. I know there's some punters, buyers agents staying their head down to Tassie, but there's definitely no rush unless if you're looking at cash flow types of deals, maybe, but there's definitely better markets at this stage. Darwin's going off like a rocket. I mean, Darwin's going mad. And a lot of this is artificial. A lot of buyers agents are pumping people into there, but not us. It's unsustainable. Plus also Darwin, I need to do more longer, probably macro videos on this, of the war cycle. We're coming around to, which I need to do more research on it myself, but we're coming into a time now which some people, I had an epiphany the other night, I had a dream of the future, but it's not. I just research and I think of stuff. And if World War III breaks out, which some people say it's already started, it's only going to escalate from where we are. We've got, if Trump can't stop Putin, he's going to keep going. So at some point, Trump might realize, shit, he can't stop him. He'll try. He's cut off his oil supply, tariffs. So at some point, if he can't, then it might just go, and then China might then take the opportunity to take Taiwan, and then all hell will be breaking loose. Here we are again. Cyclical. This is all cyclical. It'll probably happen after the downturn. Come 28, it'll be on. And Darwin is in the firing line. Historically, World War II, Darwin got bombed. So that northern part of Australia is high risk because not only is it going off its heels, where look back at a similar point of history, 2006-7, went from 300, this is houses, outskirts of Darwin, about 30, 40 minutes outskirts, where some even big shop buyers agents are saying, buy the bread and butter houses. Well, look what happened, 300 to 500. And then it sacked a shit to 350. And now it's up to 550. So it'll keep going, but it's going to come back from this level to pretty much the same price point. So you can pretty much buy today, you get a bit of a hit, and then the market will turn. God forbid we're in World War III, but if we're in World War III, imagine Darwin getting attacked in 3-4 years. Property market would literally go down 80, 90%. So it's definitely not where I'm putting money at this stage. There's so many good markets on the East Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and their respective regions. You got to be careful of regional Queensland. It does boom bust like Darwin because it's got that dependency on the mining sector. But there are many areas, and I'm getting it to a stage now where selling out of eventually Queensland, just wipe the floor, get out of it, pay off the debt, raise cash. Predominantly, it's all houses, townhouses and houses. And I'm looking to roll personally into blocks of flats and resilience blocks of flats, single-story, two-story walk-ups, double brick, mate, concrete jail war bunkers, colour-bond roof in the likes of Melbourne, Sydney, regional VIC, New South Wales, Tassie, Hobart, for the future growth cycles, but also if all hell broke loose, World War III type stuff, then it's pretty protected from it's a long way down, especially Melbourne and Hobart. Inland too, the regions are good because people will be decentralizing out of the metros like crazy, not because of affordability perspective, but also to get into inland away from if we were, at war. So these are the things I think about because the probability coming now, some people might think I'm crazy, but do your own research. But this is what I think about. I'm a professional investor. I've, fucking taking on millions of dollars in debt. I want to make sure that it's going to be pretty resilient and I believe outperform because you can imagine the coastal's just getting smashed. Everyone will be going inland, western suburbs of metro markets or large regional hubs. Be a big rush towards those areas. Long story short, for basically saying, don't go buy houses in Darwin. There's people out there, big shots with Ferraris and all the bullshit, right? They've built those portfolios of houses everywhere off the back of big business, buyer's agent business. Perth, as you can see, going gangbusters, but similar point of history, 2007-8, had a little bit more to go, but then rolled over and went. This is a pretty resilient in a city. Some of the outskirts ones can go back even harder. Brisbane, away at the races. Happy days. I own 2 townhouses in this suburb, Woodridge, Logan area. Logan's great. I love Logan. Great topography of land too, so it doesn't flood like North and West Brisbane. So in time, Logan will look like Parramatta, probably in 20 years' time. But at this stage of the cycle, is not our pick. I'm even getting ready to sell these. I've got two here. I wish I'd bought more. Don't we all? But we bought them. We started buying 18, 19 and stopped in 23. And we started 150, ended on 220. Now they're selling for 650 now. Absolutely insane. But some people say, oh, it's the COVID boom, but all the bullshit. Look, back at history, same boom happened or very similar from 2000 to 2007-8. So hasn't even started to lose momentum yet. It's almost vertical. Keep going vertical, baby. And they're going to get sold vacate tenant, renovate, one needs a kitchen, one needs a bathroom, paint flooring, touch them up, auction them off, vacant, no reserve. I'll stand there on the day, and if I have to, I'll throw on a vendor bid, but I'll let them go for fair market value, which will be absolutely off its heels. Can't wait. That might be next year. Regional Queensland, that'll be the following couple of years. I'm selling out of regional Queensland. I got property in Dalby, but this is up in Townsville. Don't go by Townsville, folks. I'll save you from losing your shirt. Houses in Townsville and units for that matter, as you can see, absolutely charging, gone get ballistic. So I mean, buyers, I still see them online. I'm like, oh my God, can you stop doing that? No wonder this whole buyer's agent industry explosion is just another broker's boom. In the pre-GFC, we had mortgage broker boom in Australia, and in the US, you could go get a loan without even proving you had a job. That was a mortgage broker boom. We had stockbroker booms, similar time, plus in the 80s and the Roaring 20s stockbroker booms. In the 90s and 2000, we had insurance broker booms. This buyer's agent boom is just another brokerage boom. 90% of them will end up going back to the same job they had pre to all this craziness because they're pushing people into these markets. Like, look at this. 2020 troughed out at the party doesn't go on forever, folks. 300 houses, 300, they've doubled. Now they're 600. If you can time it well, get a good deal, I've tripled money, but that's because this is the medium. So if you get in and get a good deal and time it well, and the panic right towards the end of the downturn, you can get 50 or even up to 100% less than the medium, which is what we're doing today, under the medium. And then it's taken off. I bought up in Derby and Warwick instead of Townsville. Townsville's got very high rates, very high insurance. So don't believe all the smoke and mirrors bullshit, TikTok videos and stuff. Mate, high risk, especially now. High risk, overvalued, high risk. And if World War III, it's in the firing line. Imagine now buying peak market, the market turns, you end up in negative equity for over 12 years. If you can't make the repayments and you're forced to sell, the bank sells it, bank repossession. We love buying bank repossessions. The bank sells the debt. They don't care. They move it quick. Regional WA, even worse, dangerous. Like, why would you go buy a house in regional WA, 2-3 hours outskirts regions? This is Margaret River Way, down south of, 2-3 hours south of Perth. You're going to lose money. As you can see, absolutely charging, median price point 800. Look what happened from 2006-7. She topped out and then went backwards for over a decade. South Australia is a little bit more resilient, but it is coming to its end. The party's over, folks. The light's about to come on, but it's not going to kill everyone. It'll just literally plateau out and, flatten out. Be just flat at this price level because the local wage cannot keep pushing it up. Yes, I mean, houses in regional South Australia, 550 grand median price point. That's cheap compared to Sydney, but it's not Sydney. The local wage is not Sydney rate. So Sydney is a global market. It competes with the same talent out of New York, London, Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is sucking all the construction property entrepreneurs. So it competes with that talent. Unfortunately, regional South Australia does not compete with the same talent out of Sydney. Therefore, the prices or the local wage cannot keep pushing up prices forever. So that's what catches people out. They compare. It's like comparing apples with oranges. You have to compare each market on its own merit. South Australia is at its limits. It's going to just flatten out. It's not as dependent as the mining sector, like in Queensland, Darwin, and regional WA, where it'll go through a downturn, which happens when big money comes in from those high-paying jobs. All the fly in, fly out people on trucks and diggers earning 300, 400 grand a year start buying property in local areas or paying high for rents. It just starts feeding on itself. And then people get caught up in the fuss and speculation and stupidity, and then it switches off. So big boom, big bust in those mining type town areas, but South Australia doesn't have as much of a boom bust. It's a little bit more stable, which is nice. We'll eventually get down to Adelaide and South Australia, but at this stage of the cycle, it's topped. Adelaide, I mean, why would you go buy a unit in Adelaide for 450 when you can get them less than that in Sydney and Melbourne? Has had a solid run. Adelaide, less than 200, boomed 450 medium, topping out, showing signs. Now it's losing steam, something well over. So look back at similar point of history. History doesn't repeat exactly. So we are in a similar point of the cycle of 2007, but as you can see in the prior cycle, it wasn't until 2008-9 that it rolled over and went flat for a good decade. So it could have come forward a little bit at this stage. So history doesn't repeat exactly, but it rhymes. So this is a guide, and this is where we sit, I see, based off the 18-year land cycle, using the framework, studying the framework, and overlay it with long-term historical data. This is where I see it. So we've got Adelaide topping out, showing signs of topping out, and we'll enter a downturn very shortly, followed by South Australia, regional WA, Queensland, Brisbane. They're all in that final FOMO craziness. Perth and Darwin. Over the next 2 to 3 years, they'll all top out and roll over, depending on which market. So 2 to 3 years, they'll all top out, roll over, and then go through downturns. Hard downturns for regional Queensland, WA, and Darwin, Perth, and Brisbane. To a certain extent, depending on the suburb and supply. So sometimes in, say, like New Farm, it might get approved for high-rise apartment buildings, then developers go mad, have a field day throwing up Harry Trugoff might come in and throw up a couple of thousand apartments and then release them to the market, oversupply, downturn. And then he might just rent them out, keep them as a cash flow. So he typically builds, these days, 2,000 apartments, sells 1,000. So he starts selling them off as it goes stupid and crazy. And then once the market tanks and he can't sell them to make a profit, he just keeps them, rents them out. So pretty cool strategy. Melbourne, it's only just starting. I feel it troughed out Melbourne 24 and has only been steadily rising ever since. Followed by Sydney coming towards its tail end of its stagnant flat period, then regional VIC, Hobart, New South Wales and Tassie. They've all got time to stagnate out, no rush. I mean, if you can get a long, good deal, cash flow deal, and you're not worried about immediate uplift within the next 5 to 7, 8 years, then sure, maybe. But in terms of immediate growth, there's definitely better markets to look at. But we are starting to pluck off the low-hanging fruit. So, I mean, personally, I just bought in regional New South Wales because it was a deal. 4 units on one site, 930,000. I mean, in terms of replacement intrinsic value, 2.5 mil, 3 mil, 2.5 mil land and build cost. And they don't build them like they used to. So it's all in the buyer. If you make a good deal on the way in, you don't necessarily need to wait for the market to have that uplift. But we do both. So we get good deals on the way in and we time it well with the uplift in the market. And then away you go, baby. Refinance, tap the equity. I had one client message me like a month after settling and was already got revaled, bought it for 340, revaled at 420 or 430, cash out refinance within, or started the process within a month. So when you start off, you can go aggressive as that. You can just go back to back, bang, 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 punch them out. But then after a while, get a bit of a roll on, and then ultimately 4 greenhouses, 1 hotel. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Bit of a slightly different tune, looking to mix it up a little bit. As always, this is by no means financial advice. If you want help buying an investment grade property and being guided by the 18-year land cycle, hit us up, shoot Alex an email, get in contact with us. We can send you our roadmap, our spreadsheet with the latest numbers that we're getting. But as always, this content is general in nature and by no means personal general advice. Prior to making any investment decision, sure to get independent financial, legal, tax advice. Until next time, thanks for watching.